Bula Vinaka boxing fans, wow, Iron Mike Tyson makes his official return tomorrow to fight Jake, the problem child Paul. This is going to be my full and final prediction video. I remember doing a video about this earlier in the year when the fight was originally scheduled for July. And my prediction video, you can go and check that video on my channel. Here's the link to the video here. However, I've revised my prediction and I wanted to sort of talk about what I think is going to happen in my full breakdown video now. It's been a few months. There's been a lot that's happened. The landscape of boxing has changed. If you're thinking about, Usyk beating Fury, Anthony Joshua losing to Daniel Dubois, lots going on. That doesn't really have a bearing on this fight tomorrow, but what I wanted to talk about was, my thoughts on how this fight's going to go. The first thing we're going to need to look at is the rules of this match tomorrow. So it is going to be a professional boxing fight, which is going to be sanctioned and it's going to be on their official records. However, they're going to be boxing 8 2-minute rounds. Now, in boxing, we all know that, heavyweight boxing fights, professional boxing fights are generally 3-minute rounds, which usually go for 10 to 12 rounds. All championship level fights, high level fights are all 12 3-minute rounds. So straight away, there's a huge difference there. And I think that favors Mike Tyson rather than Jake Paul. One, because I think 3 or 4 years ago during COVID, Mike Tyson took on Roy Jones Jr. and guess what? 8 2-minute rounds. And he did really well. The difference between 2-minute rounds and 3-minute rounds is huge. When you see fighters fighting, you see in the first minute they're sort of either having a look at their opponent or they're sort of going after their opponent, then kind of finishing in that 1 minute, and then generally that last minute is always a struggle, especially when you get to the latter rounds. It's a lot of movement, it's a lot of sort of tying up, trying to survive. I think the 2-minute rounds is going to be favorable for Mike Tyson, given that he's 58 years old when he's going to go into this fight tomorrow versus a 27, 28-year-old Jake Paul, who's been more active. The second change is rather than using 10-ounce gloves in boxing, they're going to be using 14-ounce gloves. Now, what does that mean? It means the boxing gloves are going to be bigger, and which means effectively the punches are not going to be felt or harder than what would be in a normal heavyweight boxing bout. Now, who does that favor? I think that actually favors both, to be honest. Now, the reason why I say that is Mike Tyson is 58 years old. He's Iron Mike Tyson. He's got one of the greatest knockout histories in heavyweight boxing. I think 40-something knockouts, 20 of them in the first round. He's incredible, absolutely incredible. But he is 58 years old. And his last match 20 years ago was against Kevin McBride. And we all know what kind of a fighter he looked like in that fight. He looked over the hill. He looked shot. That was 20 years ago. That version of Mike Tyson, I believe, would absolutely batter Jake Paul. That 20 years ago Mike Tyson that lost to Kevin McBride, essentially quit to Kevin McBride, I believe would absolutely destroy the current Jake Paul. But fast forward now, it's 2024, it's 58 years old. Tyson's had a history of illness. Just recently, he had an infection, he was in a wheelchair, numerous problems with his hip, etc. So that's the telling factor. So 14-ounce gloves, is going to be beneficial to Mike because Jake Paul does have some pop and he throws that right hand. He throws it very amateurish. If you look at the way Jake Paul throws the right hand, he puts his head down and he bowls over a right hand. It's almost like an overhand. That's fine. Overhand shots are good, but you never put your face and your chin or your eyes to the ground closed while you're throwing that punch, because you're opening yourself up to a counter. It's easy, and real professional boxers will make him pay. And I think that's an opportunity. So that's where I'm leaning with that. And also for Jake Paul, it's beneficial having 14-ounce gloves because we know that the last thing that goes for heavyweight boxers is their power. Mike Tyson still carries that power. If you look at his sparring videos, his work on the pads, on the bag, you could see and feel and hear the power is still there. It might not have the speed which generates power, but it is still there. And if he lands that shot on Jake Paul with a 10-ounce glove versus a 14-ounce glove, it's a huge difference. Yeah, so I think it's going to protect both of boxers. The weights have come out. Mike Tyson looks absolutely fantastic for a 58-year-old. He's got a far better body than me, and he's like, what, 18, 20 years older than me. And he's just absolutely brilliant at 58, coming in at 228 pounds. Jake Paul came in at 227.2 pounds. Now, this is the heaviest that Jake Paul has weighed for a fight. This guy here really is a 175-pound fighter. So in kilograms, that's what, 78 kilograms? He's 103 kilograms, guys. When he fought when he fought Mike Perry in his last fight, he was 200 pounds. So about, what, 92 kilograms? He's put on like 10 kgs. When he fought Tommy Fury, he was 185 pounds, which was around probably 82 kilograms. And he struggled with Tommy Fury and the speed of Tommy Fury at that weight. Now, fast forward, he's going to be carrying 30 kgs more than what his natural fighting weight is. And I think that's going to be a huge telling factor. Mike Tyson has always come around that 215, 220, 230 mark. He's been a heavyweight his whole life. He's been a professional, and I think that's going to be the big difference. So my prediction for this fight is a changed prediction. Initially, I thought Jake Paul he'd have too much speed, youth, aggression. I didn't really know the rules of the fight as much. Now seeing the big discrepancy in weight that Jake has had to rise up to, the 2-minute rounds, and only 8 of them, 14-ounce gloves. My prediction for this fight is it's going to go the distance. Mike Tyson is going to win this fight on points. I don't believe he's going to be able to knock Jake Paul out because Jake Paul is going to be on his bike, but Mike Tyson is going to be going in the inside. And so what you're going to see in this fight, and this is what I'm predicting, Jake Paul is going to come on the outside. Mike Tyson's going to do Tyson-esque, just like this. He's going to throw the uppercut, and there's going to be a lot of uppercuts to the body. There's going to be a lot of clinching. Mike Tyson is going to be more favorable on the judges' scorecards. Even if he wins 3 rounds, 4 rounds, they're going to give it to Mike, or it's going to be a draw. The very least is if Jake Paul actually knocks out Mike Tyson, that's going to be probably the biggest shock for me. If he can't knock out Nate Diaz and Anderson Silva, how is he going to knock out Iron Mike Tyson? I'm sorry, I just can't see it. The only way he could probably win this fight is if he drops Mike Tyson and he wins on the points. If it gets to 8 rounds, or it's a controversial decision and he's paid the judges off. But I think that Mike is going to go there, and he's looking very serious. He's trained hard. He's looking more focused than he's ever has been. And seeing his fight against Roy Jones Jr., probably, for me, one of the greatest, if not the greatest boxer of all time, in terms of boxing ability. Ali, for me, is the greatest because he's not just in boxing, he's just a great human being. Roy Jones Jr., Superman, was probably one of the greatest boxers of all time. He did it all. You just go back and have a look at Roy Jones's record. So that's my prediction. Mike Tyson, UD, MD, on points. Let me know your thoughts. What do you think is going to happen? Who do you think is going to win? And as always, you're watching Seru Bale's Boxing Undisputed. Vinaka.